you know what? I have my 14-day free trial, and I am not going to continue to subscribe. 2025, what is going on right now?
Don't move. Keep it locked.
You already know.
You're listening to the F4 Fit Fatherhood podcast. And we're having conversations with dope dads covering the 4 pillars of fatherhood. We call it the Fit Fatherhood formula. Faith, family, finance, and fitness. That's right. These dads are setting the pace in business and fatherhood. This show isn't only about the outside success. We're getting down to who you are. Gentlemen, it's time to get fit. And now, let's get into the show.
What's up, guys? Hey, it's another episode of the F4 Fit Fatherhood podcast, a podcast for fathers by fathers, where we talk about the 4 pillars of fatherhood, which are faith, family, finance, and fitness. And as I told you guys on the last episode, these first 4 episodes of the year are going to be solo pods, just me talking to you about things that are going on, things to look forward to in 2025, and some of the things that we got in store. And man, 2025 has been wild. For those of you that know, you know I live in Southern California, so I'm about an hour, depending on traffic, I'm anywhere between an hour and 2 hours east of LA, about 45 minutes east of Altadena. So if you've been paying attention, you see anything on the news, you know that we've had insane amounts of what they call Santa Ana winds, wind gusts from 70 all the way up to 100 miles an hour. That coupled with fire is a nasty, nasty recipe for disaster. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who lost their lives and lost their homes because of it. Being that we are not too far away, we get those winds as well. And where my house is situated is what's called the Cajon Pass. So there is kind of 2 mountains, and in the middle is where the community is. And so we get like really, really serious gusts of wind. So we've been getting the same winds that they've been getting. We just don't have the fire. The problem, though, is for the last 2 weeks, we've only had 2 days of power, which is why I'm not in my normal podcast studio. You guys that are watching it on YouTube see that I'm in my gym office and not in my podcast studio because we haven't had any power. So last week we had power for half the day on Monday, half the day on Sunday. Monday this week we had power, and we haven't had power since. Along with a host of other things that have been going on so far in 2025. And I am disgusted with what's going on. But we father forward nonetheless, right? Our goal every day is no matter what, we want to get 1% better. So today we will find a way to get better, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of the outcomes. We're focused on the process, not the results, right? So this episode, I want to talk a little bit about the kind of the next steps of what we're trying to accomplish, and something you probably didn't know, but it's really important for you to remember. So again, kind of setting the stage, right? Regardless of what's happening, I think you have to realize that as a man and as a leader, there is a certain amount of servanthood or servantship or servancy. I don't even know if that's a word, but as you're somewhat a servant leader, right? You are leading, but you're serving at the same time. In order to be a good leader and also a good servant, you have to take care of yourself. We talk about this, and I'm going to keep talking about it because people will go into 2025, already into 2025, and thinking that, like, I've got to sacrifice this and sacrifice that in order to get this or to get that. The reality is yes, you are going to have to make some investments. You're going to have to do some things differently. But ultimately, if you do not take care of you, you will not be able to take care of them, right? The best fruit usually comes from the healthiest trees. So you have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Ways to do that. 1, fitness, right? We talk about it. It's in the 4 pillars of fatherhood: faith, family, finance, and fitness. Fitness is at the end, but it's also just as important. And as I said before, those 4 things don't really come in order. For me, faith comes first, and then it's family, finance, fitness. But it depends on where you're at in your life. If you're crushing it financially, fitness might be more important, right? If you're crushing it in your faith, then family or one of the other F's might be more important. But right now we're going to talk about fitness first, and then we'll get into the surprise that you don't know that we'll get to it. Just stick around. We'll get to that at the end. I've talked about a lot my morning routine, right? In previous episodes, you go back and listen. I talked about my morning routine. Matter of fact, last episode, I talked about my morning routine and my secret weapon, which I'm going to touch on just a little bit here. My secret weapon in the morning, I have my normal morning routine. I get up, I have my water, I do all of my mental performance stuff, my mindset stuff. I do some journaling, I do some meditation, I go and get my workout in. But my secret weapon, the thing that I added about 6 months ago, is a product called Magic Mind. It is a mental performance shot, right? It is about a bottle about that big, 2 ounces. Take a shot, and it is full of nootropics, these mushrooms, and all these things that like really get me in the right frame of mind to have a successful day. Increases my productivity, because I've got a sense of mental clarity that I typically don't have. I'm losing that brain fog. I'm not as tired, right? As I've said before, I like coffee. I like the taste of coffee. So I don't drink Magic Mind or really anything to replace coffee. But I feel like I need less of it, right? Because coffee and caffeine is just a buffering effect, right? It just makes you feel like you're not tired, but you are in fact still tired, right? With Magic Mind, because it's more of a kind of a slow release idea, I feel energized kind of throughout the day. And then some of the stuff in it helps with energy just in general, right? The secret to a successful morning routine, and this is something people don't tell you, right? Because if you look around, you'll see people talking about morning routine, morning routine, morning routine. The key to a successful morning routine is the evening routine. What is it that you do the night before to set the stage for the next day? Right? So for me, at the end of the day, I do a little bit of a brain dump. Right? In the morning, I write down kind of things I want to do throughout the day when I talk about a journal. But at the end of the day, I do a self-review. Just a couple of things like, what did I do today? How did I grade myself on a scale of 1 to 4? How did I do? How things were? How did I show up as a father? How did I show up as a husband? A part of our Epic Dad program is we check in and check out. So in the checkout, I make sure that I hit my daily non-negotiables and make sure I did that stuff right. But something that I just recently added, 6 months ago, I added Magic Mind for the morning. They have a nighttime elixir now that I just added in a few weeks ago. And one, I fall asleep a lot easier. There's no tossing and turning. I feel well rested when I wake up. And that just, again, sets the stage for the next day, right? Before I go to bed, I do my brain dump. About 30 minutes or so before, I'll have my Magic Mind nighttime elixir. I do yoga like every other day. It's not as consistent. It's 3 to 4 days because I got to work on my mobility as I get older. It's like you use it or you lose it. And then lights off, completely dark or as dark as we can get it, and go to sleep. One of the things I do for those of you that want to start working out early in the morning is get your clothes out, put them on the foot of the bed, on the dresser, nightstand or something like that. So as soon as you wake up, they're already there. You don't have to fumble around in the dark. Make sure your water is like right next to the bed. So as soon as you wake up, you can get your water. The fewer hurdles we have, the better. Since I've started doing this nighttime elixir, I feel a different level of I don't know if I want to say recovery, but like, sometimes you wake up in the morning, you feel groggy. I haven't felt that. Like I wake up in the morning and I'm alert. I'm awake right now. And I have to attribute that to me being able to sleep better. So I think this combo, like this magic 1-2 punch, is like peanut butter and jelly. A thing that they got going on with the Magic Mind in the morning and the elixir at night is phenomenal. I've got to give it like a little bit more time to see. But so far, man, it's been about a week. And considering how crazy my life has been in about a week, waking up well rested and ready for the day has been huge, right? I mentioned it last time on the previous episode. I will put a link down below to Magic Mind to make sure that you guys are getting yours. I highly suggest that you get both, right? Like if you feel like, oh man, I just need the energy for the morning or throughout the day, I get it. But trust me, if you are well rested, it sets the stage for the next day. Okay, so this is something I'm going to be trying. I'll keep talking to you guys about it as it goes on, as it continues. But I'm telling you right now, man, I feel phenomenal. You guys could probably hear right now in this podcast, like, this is not a slow rolling podcast. Like, I'm fired up, and I've been like this all day, and it's been like that for several days now with the combination of the two. All right. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's the secret sauce that I was telling you guys about. This is more of a mindset thing. This is something you got to think about. A lot of us are going to go into 2025 and focus on trying to be successful. We're going to try to be successful in business. We're going to try to be successful in our relationships. We're trying to be successful husbands, fathers, coaches, mentors, blah, 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 whatever title they give us, right? And I think a lot of times we miss this key part. is that you're already a success, right? Like there are people who would absolutely kill to be exactly where you are. There are people who are fighting tooth and nail to get to where you are. The place that you're at right now that you feel like you're not doing enough, you're not a good enough father, you're not a good enough husband, not a good enough man. There are dudes that are breaking their neck to try to get to your level. Think about it this way. Think about every time you felt like you had the quote unquote worst day of your life, right? It was terrible. Things didn't go right. The car broke down. Your wife was mad at you. Your kid fell down and broke her arm. Your boss was about to fire you, or you got fired, right? You have already survived every worst day of your life. If that ain't success, I don't know what is, right? Like you're already successful. So if you can take that mindset into today, tomorrow, the next day, like I'm already a success. This is just what I'm working on to continue to be successful. Or this is what I'm working on to be a little bit more successful. I'm just 1% more successful today, right? Not that I am not enough or I got to do more, or I got to be better, or I got to, no. I'm already successful, right? I'm already kicking ass in everything I want to kick ass in, but you know what? I've been kicking ass with one leg. I'm going to start kicking ass with two. I'm a two-leg ass kicking now, right? Like I'm not messing around no more. I know that I'm successful. I know that I'm crushing it as a father. I know that I'm crushing it as a husband. I believe that about myself. But because I believe that about myself, I'm going to continue to push forward. A lot of this too comes from you're doing a great job, but the problem is you keep moving the goalposts, right? You keep, like you're crushing it, but you keep raising the standard, which is not a bad thing. I think you should raise the standard. I think the bar should be set high. I think you should be shooting for the stars. But the reality is if you shoot for the stars and you land anywhere but the ground, if you land on a tree, you land on a house, you land on an apartment building, a skyscraper, you land on the clouds, the moon, whatever, you're higher than where you started. And you have to remember that. You may not be where you want to be, but you're on your way and you're making progress. As long as we're not going backwards consistently, right? There are going to be some days where you go backwards, right? You're going to take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But as long as you don't take 2 steps back, you still made progress. And you got to give yourself some grace. You're doing a great job already. In 2024, December 31st at 11:59 a.m., you said to yourself, I'm going to be different in 2025. 2025 came and you're already down on yourself about the things you have or have not done. Bro, give yourself some grace. Get back to work. Get back in the saddle and get it done. Like if nobody can, if you can't do it, nobody can. You are the man to do the thing that you want to do. You're the guy. You're him, as the kids say. Like my daughter, he's him. No, you're him. You're that guy. Go be that guy. Right? So now that I've motivated you and got you fired up, I want to touch on a couple things this week that have happened in social media, and then we're going to close out with some goal setting ideas. I have been really, really active on the F4 Fit Fatherhood Instagram page, posting videos of myself and other people, and things have been insane. There are like 400 some odd thousand people, and I can't keep up because it's happening too fast. The thing I love about what's happening there is a couple of things. One, there are brothers supporting brothers. There are fathers supporting fathers. There are men supporting men. Even in the posts where like people get like kind of catty and argue back and forth about who's right and who's wrong, you still will go through there and find guys are like, yo, dog, you're killing it. You're doing a great job as a father, man. Keep it up. Just celebrating each other and high-fiving each other. I don't think that happens enough. I think when we're young men, we're children, we're boys, we're adolescents, we play sports, and right, we do something well, people high-five us, they handshake us, they cheer us on. But when we become men and we're no longer associated with these teams or these sports anymore, what happens is we go it alone. When we're successful, nobody cares. When we do something well, nobody high-fives us. Matter of fact, on the flip side of that, when we're not doing something well, nobody encourages. Nobody picks us up. Nobody says, hey, man, I believe in you, right? I believe that you can accomplish the thing that you said you were going to accomplish even after the feeling is gone. Like, I know that you can do it. You're the guy that can. We don't get enough of that. And so it's really encouraging to see that happening in the comment section. The last week of posts have been really, really focused on the idea of being present I think that is something that will always be at the top of the list. Being perfect is not it. Trying to chase perfection is insecurity. I think being present is the most important thing. Like going to school and getting an A+ is great, but you got to be in school to get the A+, right? You got to be present in order to get the good grade, right? And so it is important for us to make sure that we're present in every way that we can be. Now, I know scheduling is going to be crazy, right? Like you got to work a job to make sure that you provide for the family. You got to go out and, hunt in order for them to eat. But once you finish hunting, then you need to be present. You need to teach your kids how to do the thing, right? You have to be able to be the one to guide them, to lead them, to teach them. You can't do that if you're not there. You can't do that if you're there and not focused. You can't do that if you're there and you don't have a purpose for the things that you do. If you're just kind of a rudderless ship, and when you're home, just whatever happens, you're checking things off a list, or you're sleeping, or you're watching TV, and you're letting life go by and then complaining about not having enough time. Well, I think you need to take a look in the mirror, because you can control that, right? The way that you show up, the way that you're present is completely up to you. The amount of time you may not be able to control, but the way that you do it and how you do it is different, right? Like if you got to work a 16-hour shift, you got to work 16-hour shifts. Like the hours are the hours. Whatever time that you have at home, whether it be 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 15 minutes, that time that you get to spend with your wife and your kids, that can be worth 10 hours if you do it right. Like the 15 minutes of undivided attention can be worth it, right? Think about some of the things that you do that don't take very long. And this is going to be really like, guys, come on, listen. This is guys' podcast. This is guys listening. Guys, you hear me? The average orgasm lasts for 9 seconds. 9 seconds. But it's worth all the hard work. It's worth all the pumping and all the sweating and all the moving and all of the like sweet things you got to say throughout the day, and all of the encouragement and all the like taking the trash and doing all the things for that 9 seconds. All right. So that's just to say, like, the amount of time isn't what matters. It's what happens during that time. It's the feeling that you get. Right. So you have to think about, and don't cross the lines, don't get crazy here. You have to think about like how important the time is that you have with your family. It's something funny. When I was in college, my senior year, my frat brother and I, we got really heavily into bodybuilding. I think by the time we finished, we were actually going to compete, and we ended up not doing it. But I ended up being like, right around the competition actual time, I ended up being like I was 237 with 7.5% body fat. Right? Which is not, I mean, you look at like real pro bodybuilders, like they're dialed in even further than that. Right? But I felt like I was pretty good for a college kid. But we used to watch Pump and Iron. Like we'd go work out, we'd come home and watch Pump and Iron. And I must have seen it about 1,000 times. But there's a scene in there where Arnold is talking to the cameras, like a kind of an interview. The whole thing is like a documentary, but this part of it, I think they were kind of interviewing him. And he is like talking about the pump in the gym. Like going to the gym and getting the pump, to him, is the same feeling as having an orgasm. So he chases the pump because that feeling is similar, right? Like, so for your family, like chase your family, because the time and the energy and the effort all pays off. The return on investment is huge. Not even in the immediate, but in the long term, right? Like what you do today, literally in this day, can echo for the rest of your children's lives, not just yours. Because you might only have 20, 30 years left, 40, 50 if you're lucky, right? But they're going to outlast and outlive you. And what you teach them, they'll teach theirs, and theirs will teach, like the kids will continue, like you will echo in eternity. The thing that you do, say, and act will echo in eternity. That's why being present is so big, right? The statistics are crazy for fathers that aren't present. And we can talk about those, right? With higher crime, more likely to end up in jail, less education, like all these things, right? But the biggest thing is not like the negatives of your absence, but the positives of your presence. If you're actually there, think about all the things that happen because of that, right? If you look at like the stories that you see in movies or in TV shows It's like, well, my father told me, or my grandfather, or you think about the wealthiest people in the world. For the most part, there was some type of family thing that happened. Like old money. Money was passed down from a father to a son to a grandson to because of a present or at least purposeful moment. Right? This is the importance of a father. Right? Not just the things you do on a day-to-day, but how that thing you did today can affect tomorrow and the next day and the next day. So here's a couple things for you to remember. I don't even know how long this podcast has been going. I just get on here and start talking, and I don't have a long one. Like I said, these first 4 are going to be short, and then we're going to get into interviews. You know, the interview podcasts typically take longer. They're like 30, 40 minutes. It's a couple things that let's take aways from this podcast. 1, you got to take care of yourself. Mentally, physically, emotionally, right? You have to take care of yourself. So first thing in the morning, I get up and I execute, right? Right away, I'm taking care of myself because I know if I take care of me, I can take care of them, right? Number 2, you're already successful. Give yourself credit for what you've achieved. You've survived every worst day of your life. Give yourself credit, give yourself grace, continue charging forward. Every day is not going to be perfect, but you are going to try, and that intention will get you where you want. Okay? Present. Be present. Your presence is important. Your presence is the most important thing that you can have. Right? Like you could probably hit the lottery today and leave your kids billions of dollars. You know how the lottery gets, it'll get up to $1 billion and you hit the lottery. They're going to take half of the government, but you got 500 million. You get them 499 million. They'll blow it all if you don't teach them anything. If you're not present in their life and teach them how to use that money to keep that money going for the rest of their life and their kids' life. But it's up to you, and it's up to you being present and the way you're present. Again, you may not control the amount of time that you get, but the time that you get, you are in complete control of. When you're actually there, that's when you're in control. So control what you can control. Control the controllables. Get in there, be present, be active, be available, be the man that you want to be. Lead the way that you want to lead, no matter what. Remember, we're always going to father forward. That's it, man. I'm going to wrap it up. I feel like that's enough for this episode. At this point now, we're just kind of rambling on, and I don't want that for you guys because I know we just talked about how important time is. So you got to go be present. So take what you just heard, take that, continue being successful, go be present the way you want to be, and lead your family in the way that you need to lead your family. That's all I got for you fellas. Have a great day, and I'll see you next week. You just tuned into another episode of the F4 Fit Fatherhood podcast. Thank you once again for listening. If you haven't already, go ahead and follow me at You Can Call Me Coach on Instagram. Also follow the podcast at F4 Fit Fatherhood, the number 4 and the letter U on You Can Call Me Coach. Go ahead and flip over to the next episode, man. I know you love this one, so you'll probably love the next one. Excited for you guys to hear it.